I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know it's just about a minute after the hour, but we have a good amount of information to share today. We are recording this, so we'll make sure to share the recording afterwards. If you'd like to share it with colleagues or friends, feel free to. So quick introduction for myself. I'm Emily Shoddick. I do training and support for APA, mostly on academic writer. And also joined by some colleagues. I've got Jana Pariser on the call, and we also have Patty. Patty, do you want to give a quick introduction or
Sure,
say hello?
Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Patty Avalonit. I'm also a training and support specialist on the customer engagement team, and I focus on APA databases.
Great. Yeah, so thanks so much for being here today. We're excited to do this. This is the first time we've kind of joined forces between Academic Writer and PsycInfo and done a combined webinar like this. So it's the first of its kind. You should feel very excited and lucky to experience this first kind of collaboration that we've done. So we're excited. So we are going to be talking about actually using Academic Writer and PsycInfo together. So hopefully you have access to both of those platforms, or if you're curious about maybe you have one or the other and you're interested in Academic Writer or PsycInfo, and this will just be an interesting way to see how you can use these two platforms, these two products together. And we are going to be focusing on research. So let me get into my slides here. Okay, just a reminder, there is a transcription. So if you've never used that in Zoom before and you find having those that kind of like subtitles, transcript available, I do always try to speak fairly slowly, but sometimes get away with myself and talk pretty quickly. So hopefully that could be helpful for you. So that transcription is there in your Zoom settings. Okay, so what will we mainly focus on today? So we're going to talk about, like I mentioned, using Academic Writer and APA PsycInfo to help with the research process. So I'm gonna, if you're not, say if you're very new to doing academic research, in just a moment, I'm going to show you a resource in Academic Writer that kind of clearly lays out the kind of some steps in the research process. We're not going through the entire research process today, but we are going to focus on these three main steps, very important steps, I would say. So if you are a student and you're working on a research paper and you have an assignment, and maybe it's the first time you've done this and you're just not even sure where to start, you're in the right place. And hopefully this webinar will be very helpful for you. I'm going to show Academic Writer and I'm going to show some resources for picking a topic. Um, and then I'm going to hand it off to Patty and she's going to show how to actually find sources. So using the APA PsycInfo database so that she can show you how to do some searching and how to really find good quality sources for your paper. And then she's going to hand it back to me where I'm going to show you how to take those sources and put it into your paper using Academic Writer to create a reference list. So we're going to focus on those things. We're not going to really get into all of the details of actually writing the research paper. I'll show you there's lots of tools for help with that in Academic Writer, but we are going to focus on just these kind of this pre-writing flow of the research process. Okay, to the next slide. So I'm going to talk first about Academic Writer. So if you've never heard of this before, never seen it, just basically what academic writer is. That's what this slide is for. So it's made up of three core centers. We have the Learning Center, Reference Center, and Writing Center. It does align with the latest edition of the publication manual for the American Psychological Association. And it's self-paced, it's multidisciplinary, so you can use it for any subject that you're working on your research for. And it's a single platform resource. And also, of course, it's an academic paper learning and writing tool. So you can actually write your papers in there. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and give me just a moment so I can switch out and I will share my screen and do an actual demo within Academic Writer. Just a second. It's always a little awkward going back and forth between PowerPoint, but here we go. Gonna do this one. Share. Okay, so here we are in Academic Writer. So I mentioned those centers. We have the Learning Center here, Reference Center, and Writing. So learning, of course, is where you can learn about APA style and the research and writing process. References is where you can store your sources, your references. You can format, you can organize and store your references there. And then the Writing Center is where you actually go to format and write your papers. So what I wanted to show first off is some content in the Learning Center that can be really helpful when you are in that pre-writing phase of your paper. So I'm going to go to, I just clicked on the Learn tab. I'm going to go to Browse Lessons and Samples. So this is where we have all of these lessons that you can complete to learn about all of these many topics within APA style and research and writing. So I'm going to go to a tutorial and I'm going to choose, let's see, under the, I think it's under writing. Yeah, so writing, and then I'm going to go to this pre-writing tutorial and open that up. And this will give you an idea of what these lessons look like. And I want to show you some specific content within this lesson that can help you out if you are, just learning about the research process and need a little assistance with that. So I'm going to resume this lesson that I was working on. And we're going to go to the overview. Whoops. I got a new mouse and it's a little sensitive, so it's tricking me. Okay, so we're in the overview, and this just tells me kind of an overview of the information that is in this lesson. You can complete this. Sometimes maybe your instructors will assign these lessons to you to complete for credit. If not, these can be just really helpful for your own, self-education and assessment. There are quizzes, knowledge checks in here to kind of check your knowledge. But I just wanted to look at this because it does give a nice overview of the writing process and research process. So we have a nice little graphic here of the writing process, talking about pre-writing, drafting, revising, editing, publishing. Kind of goes beyond what we're talking about today. We're talking about that pre-writing phase. So I wanted to show you this outline here that gives a nice step-by-step walkthrough. So we have the research process, brainstorming topic ideas, choosing a topic, and develop a clear research question. Then we have find sources to validate topic choice and begin your research, and then begin creation of the reference list as soon as those valid sources are collected. And then you can, of course, revise your ideas and start your outline. So we're, of course, talking about some help with finding your topic. So choosing your topic and then finding your sources and then creating your reference list. But I just wanted to point out that this pre-writing lesson really does kind of complement what we are talking about today. So if you're looking for a refresher about the research and writing process, definitely encourage you to take a look at that. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to a paper that I have been working on, and we did organize this to hopefully kind of follow the actual flow of the beginning of the research process. So I'm going to pull up a paper that I have been working on. If we were at the beginning, actually, let me just pull up one that's blank. And go over here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the research lab book now. So there are some resources in here to help you with actually developing your research idea, which we mentioned. So you just go over to the left side in any paper that you've created an academic writer, and then you're going to choose research lab book, and then you're going to choose develop my research idea. So I know that sometimes it can feel overwhelming, kind of narrowing down what your actual topic or idea is for your paper, since that's the first step, but it is, of course, a very important step. So we have this guide in here that kind of creates, it's a tool that kind of creates a way for you to document your kind of brainstorming around your topic development. So if you just go to start a new idea, it's going to walk you through these steps. So it starts with generating ideas. So ask me questions to help me discover my interests, or I already know what I'm interested in researching. So you can choose these and save and continue. I feel like I did, let's see, fill this out. I don't know if it's going to save what I had in here. But this is just walking me through these steps. So generating ideas, choose a brainstorming question to write about on the next screen. So I don't want to read, all of the text on the screen to you, but just so you get an idea of what these prompts kind of show me. Let me choose one and save. Okay, and then it's still going through, asking me many different questions about, just to get you thinking about the topic in a different way that maybe you weren't thinking about them before. Okay, so just going to go on to the next step where I had, okay. It did remove everything that I had. That's fine. It's okay. I had filled this out before, and I'm just remembering that that was in a different paper, and I switched to a blank paper. But that's fine. So we're going to identify our topic here. So in this step, you just determine your research topic. So essentially, it's going to go through and just ask you many questions. So what phrase best describes the focus of your study? You can go on to the next one. And it goes into developing your research question. So how it might change as you move forward with your project. So what question best articulates what you want to find out through your research? And it keeps going and it keeps asking you more questions and kind of becomes more detailed as you go and kind of looks at your question as like who would be involved, where would it be involved, when, and how would this kind of question that you're developing, how can you narrow down your terms so that you can actually then take that to your database and start searching. So sorry I didn't kind of present that how I had planned, but that's okay. Hopefully that gives you an idea of just how this tool can be really helpful with developing an actual idea before you jump into the databases and start searching and experimenting with your search terms. Okay, so I think now, after we kind of have some ideas in mind, I'll pass it over to Patty, and she's going to actually go into PsycInfo and show um, how to get that search started, and also talk a little bit just about what PsycInfo is and what all you can find in there. So I'll go ahead and stop, and Patty, if you want to pick it up.
Great. Thanks, Emily. Okay, so the APA PsycInfo database is a great place to begin your research, and today you'll learn why. So just a brief overview of what we'll cover today. We'll talk a little bit about why you should use APA PsycInfo. Talk about how you want to be choosy and choose to search only the APA PsycInfo database in order to access all of the fields that are available. We'll talk a little bit about the APA thesaurus terms and how they can help you target your results in a pretty easy way. And then we'll also do a search demonstration. So why use APA PsycInfo? We'll start with a few facts and stats. So as of fall 2024, APA PsycInfo contains more than 5.6 million bibliographic records, and more than 99% of those are for peer-reviewed publications. Most of the records are for articles published in nearly 2,300 journals, but you'll also find information about book chapters, dissertations, and lots of other resources. APA PsycInfo contains a lot of historical content. The earliest materials date back to the late 1500s, as well as current and cutting-edge research. So this database is updated twice each week. APA PsycInfo also includes a robust network of cited references. There are more than 150 million of them, and they're all formatted in APA style, and they're ready to add to your paper in Academic Writer. So the names of our databases, so APA PsycInfo, APA PsycArticles, in the name, leads some people to assume that they're only useful if you're searching for materials in psychology or related fields, but they'd be wrong. APA takes a broad interdisciplinary view of the behavioral sciences, so you'll find resources relevant for the study of education, business, nursing, law, engineering, neuroscience, and much, much more. I love a good word cloud, and this one shares many examples of different fields of study which are covered by APA PsycInfo. At its core, APA PsycInfo is a powerful tool specifically designed to help you find the most relevant resources for your research. It doesn't contain the actual full text of the materials, but your library system has many resources available to form a bridge from APA PsycInfo and the content that you need. APA PsycInfo is a bibliographic catalog that begins with the full text, like the article that you see on the left, which our professional indexers analyze and use to extract important pieces of information to create the bibliographic record on the right. Each APA PsycInfo record provides you with a snapshot of what the piece of content is all about using dozens of fields. Speaking of fields, there are more than 40 of them available in APA PsycInfo. The key to remember, though, is that most of them are only available when you search APA PsycInfo by itself and not along with other databases or as part of a discovery layer. So looking at the list, the field names suggest the fine level of detail captured to make each publication more findable. So compare this full list of fields to the much smaller grouping shown here in gray italics. So this is the limited number of fields that are available. There are typically less than 10 of them when searching APA PsycInfo through a discovery tool, or typically in combination with another database. And these 10 fields are basically the lowest common denominator of fields that you'll find in just about any database. One of the most important search fields in PsycInfo is the index terms field. This metadata describes the major search concepts of the publication, and it's sourced from the APA thesaurus of psychological index terms, which is a controlled vocabulary developed to describe the content of APA research databases. This taxonomy is regularly updated to reflect both current and historical research trends. The APA thesaurus maps many related search terms to a single index term representing the search concepts, like the examples that you see here. Although the elements of this vocabulary are called index terms or subject headings, depending on your search platform where you access APA PsycInfo, the advantage of using them is the same. You can search for a single index term knowing that you'll find all the relevant results in APA PsycInfo. That means that you don't need to worry about searching multiple words or phrases, or whether you might have missed any important variations in author keywords or historical changes in terminology over time. Our highly trained indexing experts have done the work for you, tagging each publication with an average of 8 APA index terms to help you find content more efficiently. So today's search demo of APA PsycInfo will show you a few simple search techniques that you can start using now that will save you time and effort while still delivering excellent results. All the search techniques you're about to see will work on any platform where you access APA PsycInfo. So whether you're using APA PsycNet, Ovid, ProQuest, or EBSCO, you may see that the user interface and search operators and your search experience may differ, but you can talk to your librarian if you have questions. But everything that you'll see here in the demo will work for you on whatever platform you're using. All right, so before I hop out to the web to access APA PsycInfo, are there any questions about any of the PsycInfo slides that I've covered? Sounds like no. All right, so let me switch my screen here. Okay, you should be seeing my APA PsycNet screen. Okay, so say we're interested in writing a paper on nature and stress. Maybe that's our general topic, as in how being in nature can help relieve stress. So maybe I'm used to a single search box. We all know Google and we all like using a single search box. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the basic search screen, and it just provides a single search box. So I'm going to try to type a natural language query. How does being in nature relieve stress? And if I search, I get only one result. And then if I actually look at the abstract, I can see right here that it's not even relevant because it's about the spiritual nature of practicing mindfulness. So that's not the kind of nature that I had in mind. All right, so let me go back and try another search. Go back to my basic search box. Let me just try something more general. I'll try nature and stress. Okay, so now I've got more than 24,000 results, and I'm way too far in the other direction with too many results to sift through. So I need to come up with a better strategy to find results for the specific idea that spending time in nature is helpful for reducing stress. So maybe I'm not quite sure what search terms would be better than nature and stress, so I'll stick with that. But I'm going to try searching for them in specific PsycInfo fields, which I can do with the advanced search form. So we'll go switch to that. And on the advanced search screen, under select databases, I've got all of the databases selected here. So I'm actually going to deselect them and choose only PsycInfo, because as you recall, that's going to allow me to have access to all 40 of those, roughly 40 of those fields. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the word stress, and say I want to find that in the abstract field. And then I'm going to search for nature as an index term. So remember, that's the field in PsycInfo that captures the search concept, and regardless of how it's kind of referenced in the research, our indexers have said, yes, this particular publication is relevant to nature. And I will do a quick search. Okay, so I've got 347 results. And what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of things here for my display. I want to see as many results as I can as possible. So I'm going to up my display to 100. And I also want to see all the abstracts. So it's going to highlight my search terms here for me in yellow. So if I scroll through, I can see all of the different publications that have matched these search terms. So I can see the first one maybe seems perfect because it talks about nature exposure. But if I scroll down, I can see, for example, number 13, I'll show you, talks about community factors and animal shelter outcomes. And you can see here it's talking about stress. I'm not quite sure where nature is. If I open it up, it may actually have something else in the record. There's a something like a journal impact statement or an article impact statement that it may actually have the word nature in here, but this clearly is not relevant. So next, what I want to do is try maybe searching the APA thesaurus for nature to see if there's any way to narrow this concept using that controlled indexing vocabulary. So go back up. I'm going to go into the APA thesaurus, and I'm going to search for nature. So I get 4 matches here, and I see nature environment seems to be a pretty good fit. I can actually click on the plus sign. I can read a little bit more about that particular index term. I can see when it was introduced. The scope note is kind of like a definition of sorts, how it's used. And then you can see when available, there are broader terms, narrower terms, and related terms. So you can choose to search, any or all of these. I'm actually just going to choose to search the top level category. And I'm going to add that to my search. Okay, so now I'm going to take this out because I've already got nature, environment, and index terms. And the next thing I want to do is I'd actually like to exclude dissertations from my search, right? Because maybe they're not peer-reviewed. That may be something I'm not really interested in. Maybe I'm looking for more peer-reviewed content. One very quick way to do that is to do document type, and then I can select is or is not a dissertation. So this is going to exclude any dissertation results. Also, too, to point out, if you're looking specifically for peer-reviewed results, even though most of the content in PsycInfo is peer-reviewed, you can check this box right here, and it will return only things that are peer-reviewed. So it just gives you a little bit of peace of mind. But I will go ahead and do this search. So I get a brief summary up here of my search. So I'm looking again for stress in the abstract, and I'm looking for the specific index term for nature environment, and anything that is not a dissertation. So I've got 179 results right now. So on the search results page, I can see on the left, there are things that that I can use to filter my results, right? So these are different kinds of fields, and some of these are going to be available on the search screen that you can as search limits, but you can also filter by many of them. And again, these will vary a little bit based on your the UI of your platform, the user interface of your platform, but there's a lot of overlap here. So if I scroll down to the index terms, I can maybe add a second index term for a little more specificity. So I can see I've got, of course, stress, I've got well-being, stress management, urban environments, if I'm interested in maybe how people in cities might relieve stress if they don't maybe have easy access to all of the wide green spaces. So that might be interesting. Lots of different ways to kind of narrow my search. But I'm going to go ahead and add the index term stress management. And so that's going to take me down to 23 results here. So from 179 or so down to 24. So that's a pretty quick way to winnow down results. Another different but related approach would be to get more specific about the type of stress. So just to kind of show you real quick, if I go back up to the APA thesaurus and I search stress, this kind of give you, remember we searched nature and we had 4 results. Here you can see that there are several screens. I think it's maybe 45 or 50 of them. So maybe I might want to similarly narrow it down the way I did with nature. So maybe I'm interested more in the stress that occurs in daily life, or maybe I'm interested in work stress, but I'm not looking for the stress of a traumatic experience or PTSD. So one thing I could do is type in work stress and enter. And what I see here is this is not an index term, but there's another term that I can use for it called occupational stress. So I might, for example, choose to select that and add that to my search. We're not going to do that here, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how you can explore the APA thesaurus to get very specific or very broad with your index terms. It's a great efficiency hack. So this search scenario, this search question was a real life one that unfolded as Emily and I were planning for this webinar. And so we started with that research question in layman's terms, right? It's like, how does being in nature help relieve stress? And then you can see as I went through PsycInfo, I continued to refine that search query based on what I was seeing and learning from the results that matched my interests. So I think it's a great demonstration of the fact that searching is a process And just remember too that it's often one that's more iterative than linear. So of course, a seasoned researcher can drop in to do a pinpointed search for a specific topic to identify newly published work that helps them stay current in their field of study. But for anyone new to a research topic, the APA PsycInfo search process can be extremely helpful for exploring related research concepts, discovering terminology, and efficiently scoping your results based on the bibliographic details that you're seeing. So in this demonstration, you saw how I was able to quickly and easily reduce the number of results from an overwhelming 24,000 or so, it was actually more than that, right? Down to about 20 that were highly relevant. And it took just a few steps and just a few minutes. So it's a great example of how effective a few simple database search strategies can be in your quest to find better results with less time and effort. Okay, so now that we've finished our research in PsycInfo and have identified these 23 publications that we want to use for our paper, we need to get these citations out of APA PsycInfo and import them into Academic Writer as references. So this is really easy to do. What you need to do is export them to an RIS file. For anyone who may be wondering, an RIS file is a plain text file in a standardized format. It's tagged that enables the import of database search results like APA PsycInfo results by any citation management tool. So you can export your citations to an RIS file format from any search platform that hosts PsycInfo. So PsycNet, EBSCO, Ovid, and ProQuest. On APA PsycInfo, the RIS option is displayed. Let me show you. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to select all of them, and the export function is right here. So it opens a dialog, and it's the first one that appears. It's the reference software. And also for anybody who happens to be using PsycNet, you also have the ability of a direct export option right to Academic Writer. And so now that we're ready to import our references to Academic Writer, I'm going to hand it back over to Emily.
All right. I love the handoff, the transition. So now I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I'm on the right one. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of pick up where Patty left off. So just envision, I'm still in my search here. And these are the results, and then I'm just going to show you how to actually export to Academic Writer. So I'm just going to, for this demo, just choose one of these. So you can, like Patty showed, select multiple and do multiple at one time, or you can do one at a time. But just like she showed, you would go to export, and then with your export options, if you are sending directly to Academic Writer, which if you have access to both products, I definitely encourage you to do. It makes it very fast and very easy to get references out of PsycInfo and right into Academic Writer. So just select Academic Writer. One thing to mention, I do believe you have to be signed in to an account. So you should, here, let me show you. Here, you should see your name up here. So you should have an account. It kind of helps it to talk to or communicate with your account in Academic Writer. So export, and I'm going to choose Academic Writer and hit go. And then it's going to connect the two. Pretty cool. So it actually takes me over to Academic Writer, tells me I am about to import a reference directly from APA PsycNet into my references. So that's exactly what I want to do. I'll hit confirm. And then boom, just like that, we have one reference successfully processed. And then I can choose to do more, or I can view that imported record that we just pulled in. So I believe it's this one right here at the top. So it makes it pretty slick getting those references between the two platforms. So hopefully that gives you an idea to get started with your searching. I think Patty, she has just so much knowledge about searching our databases. So I always appreciate seeing her demos. So great job, Patty. But I'm going to go back to the reference center now and talk a little bit more about some other options you have for getting those references into Academic Writer. So if you click on the reference tab up here, and I'm going to show you some importing. So similar to what we just did, but say you're using different databases. So we have that import option. You're always going to want to use that RIS file option, just like Patty mentioned. But here you can, of course, choose PsycNet. So actually, let me show you. So if you are kind of doing the reverse of what we just did. Instead of direct exporting from PsycNet, if you want to import directly from there, you can choose this option here. So all you're going to do is choose that origin as APA PsycNet, and then you're going to choose a file, so whatever you exported from PsycNet. And then you're going to, let's see, where did I have this? Here. Choose your RIS file that you had saved, and then hit open. And then, so I see my RIS file. This is that same search actually that, let's see, where is it? Of the search results that Patty had completed in PsycInfo over here. So I'm going to show you the importing. We'll just hit submit. And then now I have those 23 references successfully processed, and I can view those imported references. So you can see them right here. We've got our stress responses to natural environments. So you can see those are those same reference results that Patty just completed in her search. So now we have those in our Academic Writer account, so that I can, now that I have them there, I can add those onto any paper that I create, which makes it really, time saving. I personally think really saves a lot of time, especially if you are using both products. Okay, so I did want to demo a little bit more about the Reference Center, just to give you some more familiarity with handling your references here in Academic Writer. There is another option for adding references. So you can use this create option over here. These provide multiple different types of resources, and each type of resource has a form that goes along with it. So you can fill out that specific form for that resource type, and it will create the APA style reference. So just an example, under periodicals, we have our journal article. If I click on that, this is that form that goes along with it. So this is if you are, if you are creating your references from scratch. So not necessarily, importing or exporting your references from PsycInfo or a different database. This kind of really walks you through each section of the reference step by step, and it is a bit more of, I think, like a learning opportunity, because the more that you complete these, it really gets drilled into your brain, the order of the reference and what exactly is required to go in that reference. So we have our author, our date, our title, our source. You'll just fill in. There is help along the way. So anytime you see this little question mark, you can click that, and there's some very detailed guidance there to help you out if you get stuck. But you will fill in your reference information. There's also space for quotations that you can save right in the reference form. And then it makes it very easy to drop that quotation in when you add to a paper. You can add notes. So if you want to just make notes to yourself about this reference so that you remember it when you are writing your paper. I find that to be a very helpful field. And the notes section, it will also be searchable. So if you put notes there, you can search those in the reference center. And then also we have these tags. So tags help you organize your references. So you could add in a tag for the name of a class or a keyword or a topic that you are researching, kind of however works best for you. You can use these tags, but essentially it will link your references together um, based on that tag. So it will link them together, and I'll show you once I get over to my references now what that actually looks like. So I'm going to go to my references. So these are all of the references that I have saved in my Academic Writer account. They all show up in a full list. Those tags here, they show up just attached to the reference right here. So I have different tags: meditation, nursing, psychology. If I click on one of those tags, it's going to pull up all of those references that I have added that tag to. So they're all linked together. And then also other things to help you organize your references. We have some details to the right over here of each reference. You can view associated papers. So these are just, practice demo papers that I've created. But this shows you a list of all of the papers that you have added this specific reference to. So each reference that's in your account, you can add it on to any paper that you make. And then here's a list of all of those. If I click on one of these paper titles, it will take me right into that specific paper. And let's see. I think that's everything I wanted to mention in references. So here's your full reference library. You can manage those reference tags up here. If you click on that, you can view all of those tags that you've created and the exact references that each tag is connected to. And you can also change how things are organized, sorted. So this will help you find what you're looking for there. But now I'm going to go over to actually show you how to start adding those references onto a paper. So I'm going to start a very brand new paper since, Patty walked us through how to collect some references, and then I showed you how to actually bring them into Academic Writer. And then now we're going to show you how to get those references onto an actual paper. So if I choose one of our paper templates, these are just different paper types described in the publication manual. I'm just going to choose the basic paper template. It's going to be blank, but you can use this for any APA style paper. It does pre-format things like the margins, the spacing, and all of those formatting details. I'll just add in, let's do nature, just kind of filler title there, nature and stress. And you can always come back and work on this title some more, but you do need that to actually create the paper. I'll hit start writing. And then from here, so this is my paper body. So I have my paper created. Let me show you first. There is a tool. Remember when we talked about the, research lab book up here? In there, you can also create an annotated bibliography, which I think is a great next step to just start getting those references connected to this paper. You might be assigned an annotated bibliography as part of a course. This tool in here helps you add references to it and format this. So if I get started, I can add references to this annotated bibliography, and I can choose, so I can see my references down here. I can search them, or I can just select the references that I want to add. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna do date newest so I could get, yeah, so I can get the references that I know I just pulled in. So I change that to show me the newest references, and then I can select however many references I would like. And then I can add to my annotated bibliography. So this kind of starts the process of getting those references pulled together. Once I have my annotated bibliography built out, I can start to assess those sources, create annotations, think about, would this be actually good for this paper? Would it not? Other notes that I would like to include. And then from there, from this point, once you have started to collect those references for your paper, then you can start to decide which ones you want to put on your paper to start out. So say I just wanted to choose some of these directly from my annotated bibliography. And then you have the option up here to add to my paper reference list. So I'll just click on that. And just like that, we have those references that Patty found in PsycInfo, pulled into Academic Writer, and then added to a annotated bibliography, and then also onto my paper. So let me show you how those look. If I just go to the preview here, and it's going to show me my, oh wait, I'm still in the annotated bib, sorry. Let me close out of this and go back to my paper body. But that is what the annotated bib looks like there. And you can export that into a Word document and also add a title page to it. So it's kind of like helps you format a whole like assignment if you had that. So I wanted to go to the body of my paper and then hit preview. And then this is going to show me it. I haven't filled out, there's a title page form. I haven't filled that out yet. So I still need to go and complete that. So it's not going to show up here, but it does show me the title. And then I'm going to flip back. And here I have references pulled together. Everything's formatted for me, which is amazing. We have our hanging indent included with each one. All of these are in alphabetical order. We have italics where needed with our source information within the reference. So that just shows you, these are those exact references that we pulled from PsycInfo, and I already have them here added to a paper ready. So from here, if you were still in that just building references phase, you could export this and have this references list if you want it, printed out, if you had to turn in a references list or annotated bibliography, you can export both of those things at this point. That's totally fine. If you are ready to start working on your paper, though, you can go to the Edit tab, and here is your paper body. And just below that is where those references show up that I had added here. And then from there, you can add in-text citations. You have a lot of functionality here in the Writing Center to help you with formatting your paper. But I think that is everything that I wanted to show with that. So I hope that gives kind of a nice big picture view, like high up view of how you can use both PsycInfo and Academic Writer together and how that transition between the two kind of happens. So then I think that from now we just have a few closing slides. If anyone has questions, of course, please feel free to put those in the chat or the Q&A. We'll be happy to help you there. But I think, Patty, this is where we can go into the resources. Yep.
Yep. That was a great tour, Emily. Thank you. That was awesome. It's such a great
Yeah.
product.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I'm biased, but not really. I wish I'd had that when I was in school because it's
I know,
amazing.
we all are.
Right. Okay, so I'm just going to share a few resources to help with APA PsycInfo, and then I'm going to hand it back to Emily, who's going to share a few more for Academic Writer. So for anyone who may not be familiar with Boolean search operators, this is a helpful graphic that illustrates the conceptual differences of using the Boolean logic commands of or, and, or not in a search query. So I like to remember that or gives you more, or will return the largest set of results when combining search terms. And not narrow your search. So and is going to narrow your search to the overlap of the two concepts, and not is going to also narrow your search to exclude any records that contain that specified search concepts. So APA PsycInfo has a quick reference guide that will walk you through how to search APA PsycInfo. It has screenshots that help explain the basics. So it includes things like definitions of useful search fields, different search operators on different platforms, how to search the APA thesaurus, saving results and search queries on your platform, and much more. So there's a PDF version for every platform. And if you go to the link in the slide, you can find your platform and then get to the quick reference guide that way. So I know that you got a lot of information kind of coming at you today, so I try to kind of share some key takeaways. And so there are 4 key things that I think would be helpful for you to remember today about using APA PsycInfo for your research. So the first thing is to remember to isolate APA PsycInfo and search it by itself, and that way you have access to all 40 of its searchable fields. If you go through a discovery layer, or if you search it alongside other databases, you're probably going to have a much more limited set. So if you're looking for a specific field and you don't find it, make sure that you are searching just APA PsycInfo by itself. I also recommend using the APA thesaurus terms to efficiently target your results, as I showed you in the demo. Again, whoops, sorry about that. Again, Boolean operators and or not for people that are very new to database researching. That's a huge thing to remember. And also just to do a reference export to the RAS format. And if you're on PsycNet, you can go direct to Academic Writer. I also want to encourage you to reach out to your librarian with any questions that you may have about searching APA PsycInfo or other databases. They're database search experts, and they're usually more than happy to help students or anyone else who is not familiar with it learn how to make the most of the library's resources. Back to you, Emily. Emily, did you want me to continue with these, or did you want to?
Sorry, I was on
That's
mute.
okay. Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
I can
Yeah,
drive the slides if you want. I can just drive the slides
I
if you
got
want.
it. I'm just
Okay.
like slow and awkward with the, yeah, here we go. Okay, so wait, let me go into current slide. Okay, are you seeing video tutorials?
We're seeing the presenter view.
Oh, oops.
So then so go back, and there's a little thing in the bottom. Where is it?
There we go. I picked the wrong one.
There you go.
Okay, so I was going to just talk about some additional resources, kind of some takeaways here. So we have video tutorials. So similar to the webinar that we're doing today, we have videos recorded of different webinars we've done in the past. So if you go to our YouTube page, it's our APA Publishing Training. We have resources there for both PsycInfo databases and also for Academic Writer. So if you do, you'll probably see some recordings of Patty and also myself. So do feel free to check that out. There's also a link to the YouTube page if you're in Academic Writer and you go to the very bottom right corner, you'll see some links. There's a YouTube page. There's also some social media. Okay, and then the next slide, training webinars. So when do we actually present these? We will usually put a banner up. Um, Especially I know this in academic writer, we'll put a banner up when we are offering these live trainings. Um, Also, you can go to these links here, and we will be sure to share the slides after the training. So we have the databases, webinars listed here. If you follow this link, you can register and view the descriptions of the trainings that um, they offer. And then also Academic Writer, here's the link to our page where you can sign up for academic writer trainings. And then, of course, we have our YouTube channel where we do put our webinar recordings there, and we'll probably put this one up there. Okay, and then I just wanted to mention our Learning Commons. So this is where you can get help. So immediate help with our kind of FAQ knowledge base. So frequently asked questions that we hear. This is where you can access the help for both academic writer and also APA databases. They're collected here. You just want to make sure you kind of toggle between, academic writer or databases. So you'll see frequently asked questions. So maybe it's very possible that the question that you have has also been asked and we have it answered here in one of our articles. So that's kind of the quickest way you can get help. Or if you don't see an answer to your question, if you go over to the right side where we have this kind of turquoise highlighted and choose contact support, you can choose academic writer support or databases support. And this comes directly to our teams, and we will be happy to help you out to answer your questions. And then I think that wraps up everything. So I know that we did cover quite a lot of information. I hope this was helpful to kind of wrap your brain around what can seem like a daunting process, but I really do hope that these two products can really help you out as you are working on papers and research in your courses. So if you have questions, we included a couple links here. I think these just go right back to our Learning Commons page that I just showed you. So if you do have the slides saved, you can use those links in there. You can also get to the support page that I showed you in Academic Writer in the platform. If you go to Site Help up at the top right, so look for Site Help. Okay, I think that's it. So if you have questions, we'll stick around. You can use the chat or the Q&A. But thank you so much for joining today. We really enjoyed presenting this information.